What does it take for a rising star to go from the top of the charts to the bottom in seconds? For a while, Ashlee Simpson was unstoppable. A #1 album, MTV stardom, and a hit single that ruled the summer. But one moment on Saturday Night Live turned her from pop-punk princess to public enemy overnight. How did a single slip-up destroy her career? Was it really all the music industry's fault, or did she share some of the blame? This is how Ashlee Simpson's pop-punk persona was built and then destroyed in the blink of an eye. Ashlee wasn't just Jessica Simpson's little sister, professional. She was living in her shadow. Jessica was the early 2000s pop star, with her blonde hair, bubbly personality, and radio-ready hits. Ashlee, meanwhile, would describe herself as the opposite: awkward, insecure, and unsure of where she fit in. She admitted in interviews that she constantly compared herself to Jessica, and felt like she didn't measure up to the pop-perfect image surrounding the Simpson family. But Ashlee wasn't looking to copy her sister's sparkly, mainstream vibe. She wanted something more real, something that felt raw and authentic. To be honest though, her early career moves didn't do much to make that happen. She'd had a taste of the spotlight as one of Jessica's backup dancers, and even secured a recurring role on the TV show Seventh Heaven. All of this had given her a bit of fame. But she was still standing in the background, emulating her big sis. This just wasn't cutting it for Ashlee. She wanted the world to see her on her terms, with her own sound, style, and identity. And that's when things really started to change. In 2003, Ashlee's dad and manager Joe Simpson spotted an opportunity. Jessica's reality show, Newlyweds, Nick and Jessica, was blowing up, turning her into America's latest obsession. Joe figured, why not keep the family hustle going with Ashlee? That's how we got the Ashlee Simpson Show in 2004. Only this was a bit different. It wasn't your typical celebrity flop. Instead, it followed Ashlee as she ditched backup dancing and stepped into the spotlight as a pop-punk artist. Viewers got to see the messy, unfiltered parts of her journey, from creative struggles to self-doubt, giving the whole thing the feel of a real behind-the-scenes diary. Something genuine, something truthful. Right off the bat, Ashlee set herself apart. She dyed her hair black, swapped sparkly dresses for ripped jeans and combat boots, and leaned into a pop-punk vibe that gave off major Avril Lavigne energy. Her raspy voice wasn't perfect, and that was exactly the point. The public were very much over the bubblegum perfect stars dominating the charts. They wanted someone who felt real. That was Ashlee. She wasn't just another starlet chasing fame. She was trying to figure herself out in real time, and people loved her for it. Then came the summer of 2004, and Ashlee hit the jackpot with her debut album, Autobiography. It shot straight to #1 on the Billboard 200, moving almost 400,000 copies in its first week. The album's lead single, Pieces of Me, captured all the emotional highs and lows of young adulthood, with a hook that was impossible to escape. The song climbed to #5 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming the unofficial anthem of summer 2004. While her songs were getting coast-to-coast airplay, The Ashlee Simpson Show was airing weekly on MTV, giving fans a front-row seat to her journey. They watched her wrestle with insecurities, struggle with industry expectations, and celebrate small wins, making her rise feel personal. It was a genius combo of reality TV and music that made fans feel truly invested in her success, as if they were cheering on a friend. Critics were impressed too. They gave Autobiography props for its rawness, saying it felt refreshingly real in a music scene that often seemed polished and insincere. Tracks like Shadow offered a peek into Ashlee's struggle with living under Jessica's spotlight, while songs like La La brought playful, rebellious energy. For a moment there, it felt like Ashlee had finally escaped her sister's shadow, carving out a space of her own. But fame came with a price. Fans wanted her to stay messy, real, and relatable, 24/7, without exception. That's a lot of pressure for anyone. It didn't take long for the cracks to appear. Everything fell apart for Ashlee on October 23, 2004. Her now infamous Saturday Night Live performance. Her first song, Pieces of Me, went off without a hitch. So far, so good. But things took a sharp turn during her second performance. Instead of the backing track for her next song, Autobiography, the crew accidentally hit play on the Pieces of Me vocals again. She'd been lip-syncing, and now the whole world knew it. Ashlee froze. For a few awkward seconds, you could almost see the panic growing inside her. Then, in what can only be described as a full-on deer-in-the-headlights moment, she tried to play it cool with an awkward jig. Yep, she danced it all. But the damage was already done, and she hurried off stage, visibly embarrassed. Later, she explained that acid reflux had made singing live impossible. But that explanation didn't do much to calm the storm. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Ashlee's previous claims about being a real artist, implying she was the type who would never lip-sync, came back to bite her. The media pounced, comparing her mishap to Janet Jackson's infamous Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction earlier that same year. Late-night hosts roasted her, and even before the age of TikTok and viral memes, clips of the awkward dance spread like wildfire. So what was the big deal here? A ton of artists lip-synced during TV performances. It's practically expected. But here's the thing, Ashlee's situation hit differently. Fans in the early 2000s were starting to turn their backs on the overly manufactured pop scene, craving something different, a real alternative. Ashlee had marketed herself as just that, a pop-punk alternative to the glossy mainstream stars. And suddenly, it looked like she was just another industry product. The timing couldn't have been worse. Ashlee was just starting to step out of her sister's shadow and go her own way. But after that one disastrous performance, everything started to unravel. The people who had rallied around her suddenly turned cold, and Ashlee found herself facing the harsh reality of fame. This is a business that can chew you up, spit you out, and leave you alone and humiliated. January 2005, Ashlee Simpson stepped onto the Orange Bowl stage, ready for her big comeback. After the SNL mess, this was her shot to fix things, silence the haters, and show everyone that she wasn't just a reality star with a famous sister. Everything was riding on this performance. The energy was high, and Ashlee came out swinging with La La, a brash, rebellious anthem that screamed, "I don't care what you think." But things went off the rails, fast. Her vocals wobbled, the notes didn't quite hit. And the crowd? Oh, they didn't hold back. The boos rolled in, loud and clear, and it was all broadcast live on national TV. Ouch. What should have been her redemption arc quickly spiraled into another public embarrassment. The media wasted no time jumping on, painting Ashlee as a wannabe who didn't have the guts to back up her edgy persona. Headlines zeroed in on the performance, calling her a flop riding on Jessica's coattails. Any credibility she had built with Autobiography had evaporated. Still, Ashlee wasn't going to throw in the towel just yet. Later that year, she dropped her second album, I Am Me. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, so not exactly a flop, but the magic wasn't quite there. Tracks like Boyfriend and LOVE were catchy, sure, but the emotional depth that made Autobiography such a hit seemed missing. Fans felt the difference, and critics said the album was too polished, like Ashlee was trying to play it safe instead of being her raw, rebellious self. By the mid-2000s, the music landscape had shifted again, leaving Ashlee stuck in a weird in-between. She wasn't mainstream enough to go head-to-head with pop giants, but she didn't quite fit into the punk or rock scenes either. And when she tried to reinvent herself with her third album, Bittersweet World, in 2008, leaning into experimental pop electronic vibes, it just didn't click with listeners. Sales were underwhelming, and not long after, her record label dropped her. In just a few short years, Ashlee had gone from the top of the charts to struggling to find her place in an industry that had moved on. The Orange Bowl disaster didn't just hurt her reputation, it showed the unforgiving nature of fame, where one mistake can overshadow all the good. And in Ashlee's case, the backlash proved harder to shake than anyone expected. With Ashlee's music career on the rocks, she did what many musicians do. She took time out to focus on her personal life. In 2008, she married Pete Wentz, yes, the Pete Wentz for Fall Out Boy, and soon after, they welcomed their son, Bronx Mowgli. For a moment, it seemed like Ashlee had finally found her groove in family life, embracing a new chapter away from the chaos of the music industry. But life doesn't always follow the plan, and by 2011, Ashlee and Pete called it quits, ending their marriage. Even though the tabloids ate up every detail of her personal life, Ashlee kept things low-key. She gave acting a try, landing a role in the reboot of Melrose Place, but her stint only lasted one season. By then, it was clear that Ashlee's race was run. She didn't have the energy to chase fame anymore, and she'd seen the dark side of show business. Instead, she started focusing on what really mattered, finding peace, stability, and happiness beyond the spotlight. In 2014, Ashlee hit refresh on her life, marrying actor Evan Ross. Yep, Diana Ross's son. The couple built a life together that felt more grounded and intentional, focusing on family and positivity. But Ashlee wasn't entirely done with music. In 2018, she and Evan dropped the Ashlee and Evan EP, a musical project they created together. They even gave fans a peek into their world with a reality show of the same name. It didn't quite recapture the magic of her old MTV days, and the reviews were just okay. But Ashlee didn't seem too bothered by any of it. In interviews, she sounded calm and content, saying things like, "Things happen, but they make you stronger." She wasn't dwelling on past mistakes. Instead, she embraced them, seeing them as part of her journey. Ashlee also made sure to give a shout out to the fans who stuck with her through it all. Fame? Not the priority anymore. Family, music, and just living life on her own terms? That's what it's all about. Now in 2024, Ashlee's back in the studio. She's working on new solo music for the first time in over a decade, but this time, she's doing it her way. There's no chasing trends or trying to relive her pop-punk glory days. Instead, she's creating a sound that reflects where she's at now in life, more mature, more grounded, with live instruments and meaningful lyrics. As Ashlee put it, "I've grown up, so the sound is more grown too." What sparked her return to music? Her daughter, Jagger Snow. Ashlee shared that Jagger's love for singing with her reignited her passion for making music. This time, it's personal, less about rebelling against expectations or topping the charts, and more about creating songs that resonate with her life today. It's a full circle moment for Ashlee, reminding us that while the industry may have moved on, her passion for music never really faded. Her return couldn't have been timed any better, right alongside the 20th anniversary re-release of Autobiography. It's like the universe saying, "Hey, remember this?" For the OG fans, it's a chance to dive back into the nostalgia. And for new listeners, it's a first taste of what Ashlee was all about back in the day. She's not likely to hit those heights in the early 2000s again, but who cares? Certainly not Ashlee. "It's about the process now, not the outcome," she said. This time around, she's just enjoying the ride, whether the songs blow up or not. So, is it fair what happened to Ashlee Simpson way back when her career was just taking off? Certainly not. We're living in a different world now. Social media, TikTok trends, and streaming platforms have changed everything. The same lip-sync scandal that derailed her career? It would barely make a dent today. People would probably turn it into a meme and move on. Ashlee just had the bad luck of making a mistake she was never allowed to forget. Before we finish up, let's talk about Evan Ross for a second. Ashlee's husband, creative partner, and #1 cheerleader. Their connection is solid, and it's a big reason why Ashlee feels so grounded in her new era. "It's exciting to create together," she said, "but it's even better to have someone who believes in you." Honestly, that kind of support hits different, and it's clearly fueling her music now. At the end of the day, Ashlee's story is one of resilience and reinvention. Yeah, public failures knocked her down, but she found a way to bounce back, on her own terms. She built a life she's proud of, and that's the real win. Whether or not her new music tops the charts, Ashlee's already come out on top by living a life that feels true to who she is. You can't help but feel happy for her. That's a wrap for this video. If you enjoyed diving into Ashlee Simpson's comeback story, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more music industry highs and lows. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Ashlee's journey? Who should we cover next? Drop your suggestions in the comments, and your pick could be featured in our next video. And don't go anywhere. The next video is just a click away, where we dive into the rise and fall of another 2000 pop-punk icon. You won't want to miss it.